Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we could be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate it. Of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush.
Oh, man. We're leading up to it, Zoo, man. We got our draft positions. I got the second overall pick, Sean. I think I know who I'm going, as long as I have a pretty solid idea of who's going 101. So if my guy falls to me at 102, it's going to be a beautiful season, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, last week was a big week. I had actually 2 leagues have draft selections early, and I got the 4th pick for both leagues. One is a 12-team league and one's a 10-team league. And I'm like, dang, do I want the same guy in both leagues? Now I'm just contemplating now. Now I'm just analyzing. One's a 12-team, one's a 10-team. So there's a little difference in the type of league size, which does impact how you draft, which it absolutely does. So less depth in one league. So it got me thinking, like, I have been in draft season right now, getting some picks in, seeing how the team's working out, deep in the weeds right now, absolutely deep in the weeds. Morning, day, and night right now. During work, podcasts. At night, spreadsheets. In the morning, I'm doing it all right now.
Zoo's not getting any work done if Inside Capital.
I'm not mad.
Also sent the email to the work league too, again, to see how many people are going to be in this year.
There you go.
It is fantasy season in August.
Oh, it's the best time of year.
For me, I've ticked it up. I was doing like basically weekend at not beginning, but like middle in July. I was just doing weekend shifts of doing drafting with fantasy and whatnot.
Shifts.
But now I'm at least now getting into like I gotta train myself and like put myself in a position like, hey, just do at least 2 during the week just to kind of just get a rhythm. And for me, also too, I gotta also remind myself too, and it's more so when I do it in a 14-team league. It's like with the 10 and 12, I'm kind of like I'll kind of play around with the draft slots. But in 14, I always make sure I'm hitting every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's like it really is random what spot you get. And I've noticed, at least being in the 14-team league as long as I've been, if you didn't practice the whole entire year leading up to the draft in different slots, you draft worse. It's just not as good. So you kind of got to make sure you're hitting every spot. And it makes it kind of seem like, oh, this is where I feel like this guy could be going and all that type of stuff. And I know on ESPN, at least I've done ESPN, I've done a couple of Yahoo, but I mainly do ESPN. And you know how ESPN kind of has like expert and pro. I feel like they're all kind of the same level. I don't know,
they're all the same.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like it's like because I try to
beginner mocks are not beginner.
Yeah, I'll be like, let me get out of the beginner. I want to get the expert mark. It's like, no, because it's funny. I'll get a lot of the expert mocks I do. The guys, like, you'll be like, wait, you took him there? It's like, huh? It's like, these ain't experts. These are just guys or 12-year-olds in here fucking just messing around. So,
hey, Sean, to be fair, I had a league last year where the guy, first time playing fantasy football, should have been in a beginner mock draft, man, but he was in an expert league. Man took Anthony Richardson first overall.
Oh, Jesus, have mercy. Have mercy.
Last year.
Lord.
I love guys like that. I love guys like that because those are just easy W's. You know that if they're doing that, that means that's an easy W coming fantasy. So
yeah, he was definitely in last place. He was definitely in last place by the end of the year.
Oh, wow. You know, hopefully is he? I don't know if he's still in the league, but hopefully.
No, he learned his lesson. And
you know what that's called, Pat? Positive expected value. 0% chance of them winning. You're already up on the money investment. That's positive ROI. You know,
it was a donation.
Barbecue chicken, man. If you're in that league, you're the house. You're the house.
Yeah. Yep. So he donated because I got 3rd in that league, and he just donated his money right back to me, man. That's all I'll say.
Fantasy is not for the weak. Like I said, nowadays it's people. Fantasy is never going to be like not popular, but there's more people, and I will say there's people of the other gender, you know, trying to join in, and sometimes you know you get the luck of the draw. Sometimes they have their boyfriend doing it for them. So fantasy is all inclusive, man. You just got to get into a space where, you know, you can get it as close to as dominant as you need to be. So speaking of dominant figures, talking about the tight end group coming up, you know, everybody knows, if you've been watching this podcast, everybody knows my feelings about tight ends, but you know, there is value all up and down the draft board when you're drafting tight ends. So we're, you know, in this, I guess, section of what we're going to be talking about with tight ends, we're kind of going to be speaking towards the guys who are in the middle of the rounds, late rounds or even undrafted, and where you can kind of find some value. And P. Bush, where do you see that?
There's a couple guys, man. I don't know if you guys, and I wanted to bring this up first because if you guys have been doing those practice drafts on ESPN, I don't know if you guys realize how jumbled ESPN has the positions by. I mean, there'll be like a stretch of ADP of like 15 wide receivers in a row, and then you'll get, 6 running backs in a row. And so, when you're doing the practice drafts, you're like, okay, people aren't just going to take this in exact order. You got to do the mock drafts. Even in those practice drafts, I'm sure you've seen people reach on tight end. I don't know if you've noticed that in a lot of those random algorithmic, practice drafts. So I do have to kind of take that with a grain of salt based on where I think these guys are actually going to fall. Like an Evan Ingram going in the 6th round or 7th round. You're like, maybe he goes that early, but, he could have some value, right, if he falls to the 8th, 9th round with supposedly a lot of minicamp hype coming out with his connection with Bo Nix. So, he's a guy that I'm kind of eyeing just if he does fall. But if people are going to overdraft him, I'm not going to overdraft. So I'm fading tight end this year. I know we're going to talk about the top 2 guys here shortly, but not saying they're bad players. I just think they're a little overvalued where they are. So I'm kind of looking towards the back end of the draft. I've been doing it pretty much all summer. Tucker Kraft is a guy I was eyeing very early on. His value's pretty much been baked in at this point, going around the 10th round. So I've been targeting 2 guys, man. That's Tyler Warren. I was just hating on Anthony Richardson, but I do think that and we've talked about this, Sean. You're a big Jake Ferguson guy, right? He's
massive,
pacifier. He's the safety blanket, whatever you want to call him. Kind of what we saw with Tony Romo and Jason Witten for years, right? Ferguson. I think Tyler Warren could be that to either one of these 2 guys who have shown a lot of inconsistency in the quarterback position over the last few years. Obviously, Anthony Richardson has had some injury issues, maybe even some getting too tired on the field issues, apparently. So, but, from the tape I've seen of this Tyler Warren kid, man, I know the Bears drafted Loveland over him, and we'll see how that pans out. But this Warren guy, man, he's making some difficult catches. I think he can create a lot of space, and he's falling. Really, you can get him damn near free. Right, pretty much when you're at the point of taking, flyer running backs, flyer wide receivers in the 13th, 14th round, you could just double up and go tight end, and hope one of them hits. Tyler Warren being one of them, and the other one, man, it's an annual discussion.
Don't do it, man.
Kyle Pitts.
I know where you're going. Oh God,
I'm telling you, where he's going. Why not take him with the last pick in your draft? I mean, look, they're running a completely different offense there with Penix. Sean, you were the one that reminded
me like Penix
of that touchdown that he caught, I think, against the Panthers, and you said maybe he's back. But I think the news that I've been hearing is that they're not only running him solely out of the tight end position, they're running him in the wide receiver group. He's understanding a wider route tree. I think they're really just trying to fit the offense to him. Now, I'm not saying to just pass on all tight ends and take Kyle Pitts as your tight end 1. I'm taking him as my tight end 2 in leagues and just hoping that, he's well above an 142 ADP projection, right? I think he could easily end up being a top 12 tight end, so serviceable. Maybe if you're very lean at the position and you didn't go one of the top, 4 or 5 guys and you're kind of just trying to find the next guy. Kyle Pitts, man, he's got the talent. I just think he needed more consistency at the quarterback position, maybe some youth at the quarterback position too, kind of be able to hang out with the guy, really get to know each other. He's not competing with that many targets. Drake London, of course, garnered 33 targets over the last 3 games with Penix, right? That's a lot. But that doesn't mean that Kyle Pitts cannot be a red zone monster. I think he could end up having a pretty good touchdown, positive regression going upwards. Because like I said, his talent's there, his speed's there. He's just got to get his routes down. And I think that's why they're running him with more wide receiver groups. So once again, I'm not saying do not put all your chips in on Kyle Pitts, but if you want to go 13th, 14th round, you've gone QBRB running back, wide receiver, the first 12 rounds completely. You want to go 13th and 14th with a young tight end and then, a flyer and Kyle Pitts. I'm not mad at that either because once again, Zoo, if you're not in the top 2, the drop off between, a TJ Hawkinson to the potential Tyler Warren might only be a couple points per game. So you're talking about saving yourself 7 rounds of draft capital in the tight end position. If you fade a Hawkinson, for example, I'm totally fine with doing that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like for me, tight ends has always been a default. You got to find it in the later rounds.
Not last year.
Yeah, last year I got a little happy with little Travis Kelce, and that kind of bit me in the butt. But historically,
Yep.
for these league winner tight ends that pretty much when you have them on the roster, you're guaranteed like a playoff berth. It's pretty much been Travis Kelce. Like Travis Kelce has been a de facto outlier historically because this guy scores 1,100 plus receiving yards and scores 10 plus touchdowns, and that's just putting up a wide receiver one number.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're taking a tight end at like the second round or even early third round, you're projecting out a potential wide receiver one at the tight end position. Like you got to be putting up those numbers. Like if you don't make that, you completely wasted the pick. So outside of that, like outside if you know a guy's like a Kelce, like historically great tight end, or a Gronkowski back in the day, those are like some all timers. You got to look in the back, and you might find some gems. And a lot of tight end production is just who gets a bunch of touchdowns. Like
Mark Andrews last year.
Mark Andrews, like getting 10 plus touchdowns. That one year with Sam Laporta, he just had a bunch of touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like so, like historically, like and a lot of touchdowns are kind of fluky. Like depending on the offense year over year, like one year you get 10 touchdowns, the other year you get 5 touchdowns. It's like it's not consistent because at the tight end positions, like a lot of depend on the situation, the offense. If they create you an open look and
the scheme,
and like exactly. If you have a scheme that just hands it off to like a running back for a touchdown in the end zone, like you're not going to have that great opportunity. While there's certain rosters that like throwing the 2 tight ends in the red zone. So a lot of that situation is very team dependent on. It's not really skill dependent. It's very team dependent on what the team needs. So I'm looking at the deep in the back, and I'm just like, as you mentioned, the rookies are very, very interesting. Because I still remember last year with Brock Bowers. It's like he didn't really get that hype.
He
usually
surprisingly.
like surprised because usually the rookie tight ends, that's the sexy player, right? First round tight end. Like everybody likes a new player coming in, but people like he's going to the Raiders, a bad situation. People were really high on the Raiders. Obviously, they had Devontae Adams back when the start of the year, so obviously he wasn't going to be the primary target. Even Jacoby Myers, this guy's been producing a lot in the past couple of years. So they're like Brock Bowers might be like the third option, but ever since the Devontae trade, that guy took over. Like he turned out to be the alpha, and you got him 10th, 11th round. And usually every year, there's always a guy that slips in the crack, like historically. Because I remember before George Kittle's was a household name, he was an extremely late first, like a tight end pick before he had his coming out party and became a staple tight end in fantasy football and in the league. So you gotta go in the back and take some dart throws for these potential league winner tight ends. Because right now you can get some tight ends, as you mentioned, pretty late right now that are pretty good. Like as you mentioned, a guy like Mark Andrews, he's going in the 9th round right now. Like Mark Andrews is a guy that could potentially get a lot of touchdowns. Like I don't know about the receiving yards, but for touchdowns, like Mark Andrews in the red zone, they really like Lamar really likes Mark Andrews in the red zone. So outside of King Henry, they throw it to Mark Andrews. They don't throw it to the receivers. Like
and
Mark
Likely
Andrews,
is hurt.
Oh yeah, and Likely's hurt. So Mark Andrews, they have more possessions on the field. So I'm like, I look at a guy like that. That's an all reliable name because I remember in the past, Mark Andrews was a 4th, 5th round guy. Like, he goes Kelce, and then Mark Andrews is number 2. So you're getting a very big discount and a Mark Andrews and a potential 8th, 9th round pick where he could have production that could be a top 3 level. Because outside like a guy like a Trey McBride and Brock Bowers, like if you get a lot of touchdowns, you can make up the receiving yards relative to those situations. Because in those situations, I don't know if they're going to get a lot of touchdowns. So like you're going for touchdown upside for these late tight end picks. You mentioned the rookies. Both the rookies are very, very interesting. So Colston Love, like obviously the Bears situation, murky receiver room. Like I don't really know what's going on. Who's going to be the alpha over there? And over the Colts, who really knows? Like Michael Pittman, like Josh Downs. That receiver room is not defined, right? Like I like Michael Pittman, but he's not a definitive receiver one.
And he's injured.
Yeah. Oh, that too.
Yeah.
So like you're looking at that situation. That's a receiver room where if you want a tight end that could be a potential league winner. You got to be in the alpha in your offense. Like you got to be de facto wide receiver one relative to the receiver room. So that's what you're looking for a guy in the deep round pick. If you want a guy that can produce receiver numbers at the tight end position. So yeah, I would throw some dart throws at the rookies. You're going to get them cheap 10th, 11th, 12th round picks for those guys. But if you're looking for a more veteran established guy, I really like Mark Andrews late.
I like, him and Evan Ingram are like right by each other, and I think they're both kind of in similar situations. I think they're going to be red zone monsters. I'm sorry, Cortland Sutton is not a red zone monster. He's a big play guy that'll get you like 6 touchdowns a year. So I could see Evan Ingram absolutely feasting as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, to both of you guys' point is like with the touchdowns, you kind of, to your point, you do need to be the alpha, and it's like you got to think about, okay, who is going to be taking away targets and what is the schemes? Because like Philadelphia, for instance, like if they ever got a game-breaking tight end, well, as long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, you're not going to really get a lot of red zone opportunities because he's doing a tush push. So it's like it's going to take away opportunities. Also, too, even though I'm probably since the last 2 or 3 years with Kyle Pitts, I've just been very down, but there is a possibility now because Michael Penix is more of a pocket quarterback. Not to say Kirk wasn't, but you know, I guess you would say Michael Penix, Dak, in terms of their style of play, it leans itself more to having to rely on their weapons. Now, if you were to compare Ferguson and Pitts, it's like Dak already has a rapport with Ferguson, so it's like, okay, well, I could see Ferguson being that guy, but with Kyle Pitts, it's like if you're just looking at this, if you're taking a dart throw, the chances of him getting a lot of touchdowns is very high because Penix could have developed a relationship to where it's like, hey, Drake London might get a certain coverage within the 10-yard line. He might get doubled. It might be a bigger corner or something on him. I'm going to look for Kyle because he really hasn't established himself as an elite tight end. And I was just looking, like, I remember he had a huge game last year. I think it was the National Tight Ends Day. He had like 2 touchdowns against the Bucs. So it was just like he has the ability to score touchdowns. And how I look at the tight end position, like, if you can get me 3 catches and a touchdown, like I'm happy, like I'm good. Like I'm not expecting I'm not going to be drafting tight end in a position where, I need receiver 1 numbers. Because to your point, Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, who we're about to talk about, those are guys who could potentially do that because it really doesn't matter if they got other guys around them. They're just that good. But again, like you both said it, it's a drop off. So it's just kind of like, you could be smart. Let's just say, for instance, you took like, I don't know, Sam Laporta, or let's just say even Travis Kelce had a resurgence and he had 10 touchdowns, 1,100 yards. Well, I'm gonna just say that's just a lucky year or an outlier year because I would not justify taking Travis Kelce and wherever you took him and then he gets set. I just don't think it's happening. So to me, it's like I just feel like you should wait. Yeah, it's Laporta. So to me, it's like I always go back to Jake Ferguson. Like again, it doesn't matter. I get it. He got paid, but Dak, even when he was with Jason Witten, like Jason Witten was getting a crap load of targets before he retired because most quarterbacks, you just said it, Zoo, with Lamar, most quarterbacks, if you ask them when it's a pinch, like unless it's Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or just these super elite guys, even if they got an alpha receiver, they're looking for that tight end first because it's an easier throw. So if you need a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 7, you want to go to your tight end. You don't want to throw the out route or throw the the long ball just to get a first down. Like you'd rather just get that security blanket. And certain things about Jake Ferguson that I like is it feels like he's kind of like with Kelce, like he just knows how to maneuver in the middle field. He knows how to get open. Yeah. And Dak is going to feed him the ball. Now, some people would argue now Pickens comes into this situation. Now CD comes to the situation. Listen, CD, he was still eating when CD was there. So like, I know Pickens could be a guy that could draw it away, but I just think Dak likes the tight ends. Now, every quarterback's not the same. Like Lamar might be the one anomaly where he's a runner and he still involves Mark Andrews. Like a lot of quarterbacks that are running, and Trey McBride's a little bit of a different example because he's just in his prime. So it doesn't really matter. And 2, we didn't talk about it last week, but like Marvin Harrison still hasn't proven to be an alpha receiver. So really the number 1 target on that team is McBride. So even with Kyler running around, he's still looking for McBride because he's the number 1 guy. And until Marvin gets whatever, maybe that changes. But to me, I just think about like how many targets are going to be going towards that tight end. And I feel like with Ferguson, you can get him really late. And I think with Dak coming back and being healthy, he's going to be a guy who I think could maybe get into the top 15, top 12 range in terms of just targets and touchdowns. I think he can get there. And to me, I don't think it's a mistake that he got paid what he got paid. That matters. So I think Dak kind of was just like, hey, because I'm not saying that Dak has all the pool, but I mean, he is still the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. And he's probably like, they're probably like, what do you think about Jake Ferguson? Like, yeah, I love him. He's a really good tight end. And I think he's that type of guy. So for me, if I'm talking about a value guy, just down the draft board, like for me, I'd just put it this way. I'm looking at Fantasy Pros. Like, I would rather have him over Mark Andrews. Because Mark Andrews, I think, is touchdown dependent. And I don't think he's going to get – I think Jake Ferguson can get – because I think I read a stat. I think I put it down, like, when those games, he was averaging like 70. Yeah, it was like he was averaging like 70 yards with Dak, and he was averaging like basically 12 PPR points in I think 5 games that he was healthy last year with Dak. That's good enough for me. If you're getting double digits, you've done your job.
Yeah.
If I don't win that week, it's because my receiver didn't perform well, my quarterback didn't do what he's supposed to, or my running back. I'm blaming them. My tight end, I always like, just give
10
me
to
10,
12.
I'm good.
Yeah,
That's
just
all I
give me
need.
10, I'm good.
Yeah, if I get a 20-point piece for my tight end, I'm definitely winning that week. Like it's a foregone conclusion. Because to your point, I know for how I draft, I'm not getting those top 2 guys we're about to talk. I'm not getting him because I don't feel I'd rather take a chance on a receiver or running back. I don't want to reach for the tight end. I just don't, because it just feels like what's like what tight end, like I don't know. You guys can think on the top of your head, but like what is an interesting receiver tight end one that is like, would you rather have the receiver or that tight end one, or like a Brock Bowers? Like I might lean receiver either way.
McBride or T. Higgins?
T. Higgins. I would. Because I think Joe Burrow threw for like 5,000 yards last year. T. Higgins gonna get his numbers.
Exactly. He had an insane year.
And I think he could do it again.
And he could do it again. That's very true. But he's also had some injury concerns over the years, right?
I'm telling you, man. When I see that at the board, top of the board, T. Higgins, Trey McBride, my eyes go, oh, nope. I got to go down a little. That's every time I see the second, third round turn. I see those 2 guys at the top of the board. I'm like, okay, I gotta scroll down a little more to find the guy. Take a shot.
Let's lead into the Bowers and McBride.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I was a shareholder last year, and he got a good value. I think I got him in like the 6th round maybe last year, which was
going good round.
Unbelievable value.
6th round last year.
So he's probably around where Hawkinson is right now, like around the low 60s ADP, high 50s, right? But here's the thing. McBride was, I think depending on if it was PPR or non-PPR, him and Bowers might have flip-flopped. Or sorry, half-point PPR, non-PPR, or PPR. Those 2 might have flipped. I forget who ended. But dude, people forget, man. McBride did not have a touchdown for weeks. His first touchdown was a fumble recovery. I'll never forget it. It won me that
receiving touchdown. It was not a real.
It was not a receiving. So you're saying this guy put up, I would argue, high-end wide receiver 2 numbers, and he did not have. He had minimal touchdown, maybe 3 receiving, maybe the fumble recovery. So look, I'm not saying he's worth the 22nd overall pick, taking him on the third round turn, right? If you have an early 1st round pick, which is exactly where I'm at. I literally come to Bowers and McBride every single draft, and I have to decide whether or not I want to take one of the 2 or pass and go for a Kyron, a T, a Lad McConkey, right? Like, Lad's a beast, right? But they also just invested heavy draft capital in Trey Harris in a run-heavy offense where they just drafted a 1st-round running back. So is Lad McConkey going to be putting up, if you're taking a running back in the 1st round, is he going to be putting up your wide receiver 1 numbers? Like, because that's what it's coming down to for me. I'm a T. Higgins fan. I love T. Higgins. He's a wide receiver 2. Okay? He's not a wide receiver 1 on your fantasy.
Just because they write it that way, yeah. On that team.
Sure. Yes. If he was by himself on a team, he could be a wide receiver 1 with Joe Burrow. Yeah. If Jamar Chase was not on that team, he could be a wide receiver 1 for sure. I don't think he'd be a 1st-round draft pick, but he'd be probably mid-second.
But the thing is, he's really talented, but he has a definitive ceiling.
He is exactly.
You can say he has a definitive ceiling just because of the situation.
Just because of Jamar.
There is 0% chance in the world.
And so
he finishes as receiver 1 overall.
So we're saying, you brought up the point, Sean. Marvin Harrison, right? Unproven. They didn't really add any help on offense, to my knowledge. I don't think they added another weapon in Arizona.
Same running back.
It's Marvin Harrison again, who, I'm sorry, he does not create great separation, man. He's not that fast. I'm not saying he's a bust.
There's a reason why he didn't run that 40.
He can still be a serviceable player in the league, but Trey McBride is easily the best receiver on that team right now. As of right now, going into this, he is the best receiver, and Kyler knows that and trusts him, right? Now you look at Bowers, same situation. So I think he's ascending. He's going to have positive regression on the touchdown side. I think they're going to make it a focal point to get him the ball in the red zone. I know they have James Conner, but I think McBride's going to be, garner a lot more targets in the red zone. Bowers, on the other hand, had an unbelievable season. EPR monster, yak beast as well. Solid touchdown numbers, but nothing crazy. That was with Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, man. Now he's getting it. Geno Smith, who is an above-average quarterback in the passing game. They have Ashton Genty, who will make their run game need to be respected a lot more. Now, he does have Jacoby Myers, and I know he garnered 100 targets last year, but that didn't hold Bowers back, right? Yeah. So you're only increasing Bowers' input with Geno Smith, and I think his output's going to be, loads higher. So, look, I think it depends on who you go with in your first round and wherever they fall and who you take in your second round. If you go RB, and you want to go one of these two guys at tight end, I think you're fine because of the depth at wide receiver this year. But it is a big risk because you could be passing on Ladd McConkey. He could have a great year. Kyren Williams, who knows? If, like we were saying, Stafford gets hurt, maybe they heavily rely on Kyren Williams and he ends up turning out a top 6, top 7 RB season. It is very possible. So it is. I think their value is completely baked in, and I think it's above and beyond. If I'm leaning one or the other, I'm probably going to lean McBride, and my reasoning is both their offensive lines aren't great. So I just think James Conner, I'm not saying he's going to have a better season than Ashton Genty, but I think Geno Smith could get a lot of pressure on him real quick, and I don't trust him to maneuver that pocket like Kyler can. And McBride is a beast at crossing the field. We've seen him play multiple times. He crosses the entire field, catches it 6 yards out, and takes it for another 15. He's going to get like 6 or 7 of those a game guaranteed. You add up in some, touchdown numbers, he's right up there with some wide receivers, man. Not Jamar Chase, but he's right up there with some of the wide receiver 2s being drafted in the second and third round. So I'm going to lean McBride. We've seen it a little bit more. Bowers, he's only had the one season. I still think he's a monster. But man, McBride, he just plays. He plays mean. He plays mean, and I like that. You need that out of a tight end. I don't even really think we saw that with Kelsey, but we did see it with Gronk. And I'm not comparing the two all time, but McBride, man, he's a different level of animal. I'll take him over Bowers.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you see ESPN have these guys going 20, 21, 22, around that range, you're like, okay, they're really pushing these tight ends again. Because it just feels like the same story every single year. I feel like there's always a tight end the year before they have their great season. Exactly. And then they get put – because I remember Laporta was going –
But his was touchdown. His was touchdowns.
Yeah, his was touchdowns.
That's the big thing. Neither of these guys, it was touchdowns.
Doing 10-plus touchdowns is significantly harder than doing yards. So – like Sam Laporta, obviously last year was a definitive bust at his age.
Yeah,
especially after his rookie year, having one of the greatest rookie year tight end seasons of all time. The year after, he completely regresses and was kind of a pumpkin. He was like the 4th option on the roster. I think he was the definitive 4th option on the roster. So like for a tight end, you got to get those targets. He was not getting targets in those situations in the red zone. They just gave it to the running back. So obviously we have the TD regression, but as you mentioned, Trey McBride, I think he's going to have a terrific year again. Just based on the way he plays and all his production are receptions and yards. Like Kyler Murray, I still remember I watched a lot of Cardinals games last year just because I had Marvin Harrison.
Same.
That was like just watching those games. Like Marv was option number 2 in the offense. He was the definitive option number. Like Trey McBride, especially in the little dink and dunk routes. Like he gets a little 5-yard, 6-yarder for a tight end. Like. He moves. He has really, really good movement for a big guy. Like he plays with a little tenacity, a little viciousness.
Yeah.
It's like very aggressive and like he's not a finesse guy. That's all I gotta say. He ain't
like
a
Kelsey.
Yeah. He's not a finesse player. Like this guy plays with like some strength to him. So Trey McBride, obviously, I love him as a player. Last year, I loved him. In one of my leagues, I took him in the 5th round. He absolutely delivered at that ADP. They had some great value, but now when you're in the 20s, I'm just like, okay. This is just way too high. Like especially if you're in a 12-team league, that's a 2nd-round pick.
Yep.
And if your 2nd-round pick is Trey McBride or Brock Bowers, like they better be putting up a Kelsey-esque season because if they don't, you just completely whipped on the pick.
1,310.
Yeah, like you need I would say at minimum like 1,100 yards and probably like 7+ touchdowns. Like that's what I'm looking at a round 2 position. Pick, like you got to put up those numbers, and that is extremely, extremely difficult. Those are like all-time tight end seasons. Like
very possible.
The tight ends just don't do that much. But as you mentioned, like maybe these guys are special tight ends, but for me, I'm every time I'm going to see them, I'm going to just do a little default pass. Good. At the 3rd round, that's a little more interesting. If you're able to get one of these guys at the 3rd round, okay, now we thinking a little more because I still got to think about it because I'm still a fade tight end guy until the later rounds, but. Yeah. If we're talking about 3rd-round pick now, okay, now we have a true discussion of You got maybe your RB1 or your receiver one. You see a tight end like a Browers or McBride at the third round, especially if it's a late third round pick. Okay, now we're talking right now, but at this ADP right now, I will have 0 shares of both these guys. I think they're both terrific players, but I will have 0 shares of these guys.
Let me ask you, so Zoo, this was McBride's numbers last year. All right, 147 targets, 111 catches, 1150, and 4 touchdowns.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
If he doubles those touchdowns, which I think, and that's my point, I think he could positively, regress. But man, then if he's putting up those same numbers,
if he puts up 1,100 and 8 touchdowns, he's worth a second round pick.
He's worth a second round pick.
Yeah.
But it's just that we haven't seen either of these guys do that back to back years,
exactly.
And so it's not the Kelsey or Gronk level at this point.
And to give you more context with these guys, this is what Vegas got projections for the tight end position. It's always interesting what their perspective is. They got Brock Bowers at 1,000 yards and 5.5 touchdowns.
Okay.
So that's what they got Brock Bowers. Trey McBride, they got him at 900 yards. Yep. And 4.5 touchdowns.
Wow. That's, there might be some value there in a bet.
Yeah, I know. That's I was like, that was actually pretty shocking because a guy that is going below those two guys is a George Kittle, who's obviously, this guy has been awesome for the last couple of years. And obviously there's no true receiver one over there. I think technically right now it's like Jawan Jennings. He's at 950 and 6.5 touchdowns.
See, I think if we're talking
so George Kittle going, I think he's going around the 4th round right now.
Yep.
Versus a Trey McBride.
Wait 2 rounds
ahead. Yeah, well, you could just, if you want an elite tight end, you can wait 2 rounds, or maybe you get a little nervous. Maybe you just want to wait around and just take George Kittle in the next round if you get a little worried that someone's going to snatch him up before you. So George Kittle is always a great alternative with those two guys because I believe George Kittle should be in that same tier. You can reorder how much you want, but they should be in the same tier. But right now, they're like a tier difference, which I don't get at all.
It's the injuries, right?
It's the injuries, but like you saw George Kittle last year. This guy was awesome, and the receiver room just got significantly worse.
True.
So he's going to be the number one option. And CMC, we don't know how he's going to be this year. So if he doesn't do as much this year, Brock Purdy, he's going to rely on his safety net, George Kittle. So George Kittle in the 4th round is like.
I'm glad you mentioned him because I was going to say
McBride and Bowers at a late round 2 position.
Yep, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they're in that 2nd round, I'm out like us. But that's just how my thoughts on tight end is in general. But I'm kind of leaning towards Bowers just because of Geno. I think Geno's underrated, and I think he stabilizes quarterback to where I think Bowers is really going to eat. I think there's a huge jump that Bowers can make just because, and I like Jacoby Myers, but I just think the offense is going to run through Bowers. And to your point, I don't know who made it, but Genty is going to open up Bowers even more, I feel like, because Genty feels like it's the real deal. So if that is a possibility, then you control the clock in the game with the run game, lull them to sleep, and then you can go over the top. Because the thing with Bowers, too, that I kind of was thinking about when the question got posed was like, I still remember that Kansas City game where he was split out wide and was making moves. And it's like, I know McBride can do that too, but Bowers definitely has that split out wide kind of whatever, wide receiver, YX, whatever you want to call it, and can do a quick slant pass and maybe take it 25 yards and get a first down or even score a touchdown if they're inside the 20. So he has a lot of explosive qualities and traits to him. And I think with that Vegas number, it probably speaks more to them betting on Marvin Harrison having a really good year too.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had to guess, they got him with 950 right now.
Yeah, so if I had to guess which guy, Jacoby Myers or Marvin Harrison, is going to take a leap, I think it'll be Marvin. And if that's the case, then Marvin's going to definitely eat into McBride. But I don't know that because
I think the other
Marvin
issue
didn't impress me last year.
The other issue is, can they both get? I mean, because I'm looking at Bowers' numbers, very similar yardage. He had one more touchdown. They both garnered 150 targets. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, look, I know I said the Cardinals haven't really added much. The Raiders, on the other hand, they did add 2 rookie wide receivers, Deontay Thornton, right, and Jake Beck. I'm not saying either one of them are going to be studs, but one of them is Deontay Thornton is 6'5" and ran a 4.340. There's only
has a high school
receivers that have ever done that. You want to know the other 2 wide receivers who have ever done that? Calvin Johnson and Randy Moss. I'm not comparing them, but Jesus, this kid could be a freak, right? So
he's got the profile.
I'm not saying Bowers is going to get taken away, but if that number drops to 120 targets, we'd have to be having insane yak ability or an insane, increase in touchdown production. So it's a gamble for both of these guys, but it always is with tight end until you see it for multiple years.
Like I'm looking at just the overall, like on Fantasy Pros, like rankings.
Yeah.
And it's like I see Brock Bowers, Smith-Njigba, Trey McBride, Derrick Henry. I'd rather take Smith-Njigba and Derrick Henry.
Oh, definitely
Derrick Henry
Just-
after? Wow.
Yeah, I'd just rather take the running back.
Henry before those guys.
Yeah, of course.
That's what I'm saying. Like I would
Yeah,
rather
that's
take
pretty
those. Like,
shocking.
I'm just,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like I don't. If you're looking at where they're ranked, and I know that's
That
just
might
a
be
ranking
full point
order, they're not going to go there.
I bet
Yeah,
that.
but I'm just.
Yeah.
But it's like even the guys around that. It's like I just tight end for me, man. It's just because I just was looking right now. It's like, dude, I didn't even know Ladd McConkey is ranked like, and he's in tier 3 at Fantasy Pros. And he's right behind AJ Brown. Like they're expecting him to go off.
Right.
So it's like I would rather if like there's a lot of guys I would rather take because of just the explosive. Because to your point, or to what we're all kind of saying, like those guys, I think they're quarterback proof to where it doesn't really matter who's probably playing quarterback. They're going to get their numbers. So we're kind of projecting like maybe if the quarterbacks settle in, they could really be explosive. But tight end is weird because it's like it's those two and Kittle. Yes, Kittle for like if we're just talking value, I'd probably just take Kittle because if I can get him in the 4th round, then that's just a no-brainer. I'd rather take him because I'm getting that value and there's a possibility that he can perform like them because Jawan Jennings is a receiver 1 and CMC might be not healthy. So yeah, I would way rather just take a chance with Kittle. But it's like I'm looking like these guys. This guy's not even. I meant to mention in the last section of like guys who are later on. But like there could be a possibility of like there's this guy named Jatavian I think Sanders that played for the Panthers. Yeah. Trimble's been on the PUP, and I've been because it's local. I've been reading reports like they've been saying no, this guy's been the offensive MVP, and that means Bryce. That sounds to me like Bryce is kind of taking a step. So if Bryce is just good. And you got this guy coming out of Texas who was a 4.69 guy. They're saying he's like 6'5 now, 245. Like he's explosive. He could be a guy for me. I don't have to even draft. And through the entire season, he's probably getting me 10 to 12. And then he'll, because of how explosive he is, he could get me 15, 24 times that year. So then to me, it's like I got him for free.
Right.
Versus like, and then guess what? I also got Ladd McConkey. And I didn't take him on Trey McBride. And Ladd McConkey is getting his target, horde. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's like I'm with you. I would rather just take Kittle. And then it's like
if you're gonna take one high,
yeah, because you're really it's not. I don't want to say taking a chance because those guys I say are quarterback proof. I get it, but I don't know. Like I said, for me, I would probably just pick Geno or pick Broward just because of Geno. Because Kyler again too is like I know he loves McBride. But it's like the way you described it, people, it's just like him scutterbutting around. Then it turns into backyard football. So like I know he's looking for McBride, but there's also a chance he could just run it or he could just throw to whoever because he's running around. He's not like Geno's more pocket presence where he's probably looking for Bowers where it's like, okay, you're where you're supposed to be. Let me get it to you. So and it kind of sounds like I'm saying Geno's a better quarterback than Kyler, which I don't know. But I just feel
definitely
like
more poised.
Yeah, and I think he is a guy that's probably because I don't know what his tight end numbers were when he was in Seattle. I mean, I don't know if they
not great, but that was a system thing. You want to talk about Seattle tight end? I got the rookie Elijah Arroyo.
I saw him make a crazy catch on.
Dude, he was Cam Ward. Cam Ward's tight end, man.
In Miami.
Dude, I got him traded up for him in Dynasty.
See, that's the thing, man. That's why I just like, yeah, man. Let me just and I'm
they're
not
going to be undrafted. Both of those guys.
I want anybody that's watching this. I'm not saying just wait to undraft. Like I'm not that crazy, but it's like you can find value down there, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just maybe my mentality of, and I think Travis Kelce's sport. Because let's just take Travis Kelce out of just he never played football. Would we be drafting tight ends like this?
Only Gronk. Only because of Gronk.
Yeah, when Gronk played. It's only a couple guys, man.
Yeah, there's you're like first ballot Hall of Famers, like Mount Rushmore at the tight end position. Those are the guys.
I got one more. Jimmy Graham for a few years there was absolutely worth it, but that was purely red zone, right? He was just a red zone monster, and he had the touchdown.
Boomer, but too much boomer bust, man. I don't like it. Too much boomer bust.
Him and Breeze were nasty though in the early 2010s.
Yeah. And to your point, the quarterback plays into this a lot. Like if you tell me Brock Bowers was with like a bona fide top 10 quarterback, then I might change my opinion because I know he's gonna get 1,200. Like how we think with Kelce, he's got our first ballot Hall of Famer throwing him football. If you tell me these guys have elite, like if McBride was with, just name a quarterback in the top, not even like Josh
Imagine if
Allen,
he was
Lamar,
with Dak.
Yeah. Or like imagine if Brock Bowers was with what's old boy, like a Joe Burrow, if that was his quarterback. And say, of course, he gets rid of one of the receivers, but say he was like Jamar Chase and Brock Bowers. Oh yeah, I'm taking a chance on Brock Bowers because then I know he's getting 1,300 yards probably and like 12 touchdowns. It's worth it. So
Imagine
I think it's a quarterback dependent.
The best at two different positions. That would actually be insane.
Yeah,
they think
because I wouldn't now I would think about it if Brock Bowers was with T. Higgins and Jamar, because I just feel like the receivers are so good that I don't know if I would be able to take that gamble, because Brock is definitely third on that list. But if he just didn't have one of those guys and had Jamar, like, yeah. So I think it's a quarterback dependent position, but I don't know, maybe those guys in the next couple of years, Geno's going to be there for a while, and I don't know, Kyler needs to have a big year, I'll tell that. I'm going to say that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But rounding out this conversation, we're going to be talking about some rookies real quick. Just kind of looking at it from a perspective of if you're doing really well in your fantasy season and probably within the last couple of weeks you're playoff bound, who are some rookies that you're probably thinking that you drafted in your, I guess, respective drafts. Zoo, who are you looking at some rookies who you think could be very impactful come playoff time?
In playoff time, man, this is the money time, because usually receivers or running back, they start off a little slower. It happens every year because a lot of times some of these guys get waived. Like you see a couple of donuts, a couple of 4-point games. Like obviously as a rookie, you're hyped up with your pick. You take it with the 8th, 9th round pick, and you see a couple of donuts and like 5-point games, and you waive them, and then they get picked up and they start becoming a league winner at the end of the year. I call it the Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like this dude didn't really do much in the first half of the year, and that dude just absolutely went the hell off for that Detroit Lions that one year. Helped me win a championship because I thought, this guy's he's picked him up, and then it went like 8 consecutive weeks of being like a receiver one. I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? Because I never heard of him. So there's always guys that pops up like that. So for me personally right now, like looking at the receiver position right now, like this for me is a very, very, I'm still trying to figure out this character right now because this guy went high. Mr. Travis Hunter, man. I just want to know how they use him. Because they're talking about that, he made like 80% of snaps on offense. Like, this is just coach speak right now. So we don't really know what's actually going to happen.
I think he's a receiver.
Yeah, but if he plays majority of possessions on offense, like, okay, now we're really talking, because there's a reason why he was drafted that high. And I know Brian Thomas Jr. is there, and that guy is
T. Higgins 2.0.
Yeah, that's true. But I get T. Higgins 2.0, but he's going to 70th pick.
Not if these reports, people are going to start overdrafting him.
You think they're going to overdraft him?
He'll be gone by fifth
round.
He'll be gone by
now,
fifth.
He's going at a position where you can have Travis Hunter. He can sit on your bench for a couple of weeks and just to see how the situation plays out and see how the offense uses him. So like he's in a very interesting position at his ADP for a guy that hyped up. He's not going at a hyped up draft pick right now. That's what I'm looking at, the ADP levels. And for me right now, if you take Brian Thomas Jr., I'm taking Travis Hunter as just like a handcuff for your receiver one.
Yeah.
Because depending on that situation, if he bangs up, misses game, you put him in as receiver one in that situation. Yeah, I'm getting the insurance for Brian Thomas Jr. as a Travis Hunter, because if this guy's the receiver one over there, he's gonna produce just because based on T-Law, because he doesn't really have anyone else to throw it to.
Yeah.
Like outside of Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, the guy that really was one of his favorite targets, Evan Ingram. Like there's no more Christian Kirk over. Like he doesn't really have his like favorite option. So I think Travis Hunter is a situation where that RB room right now, very, very questionable. Like I don't know.
The guy reached down.
They say it might be a 3-headed committee right now. Like that is just telling you what. Like I don't really know what's going on with that RB room over there. Yeah. Like Tank Bigsby, obviously ETN last year had one of the worst seasons ever. Like I was just like, ooh, I thought ETN was a pretty good back, and he kind of just had 500 rushing yards. He kind of like split hairs.
Eddie Lacy-esque.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know what happened with ETN last year, because the year before he was very awesome, and he's young. It's not like he's a 30-year-old running back. He's supposed to be in the prime of his career with his boy Trevor Lawrence. Like they're supposed to have that chemistry, and I don't know what's happening with that situation. He might be a third down back, but with that questionable RB room, like they're going to rely on the pass significantly more. So I'm thinking of Travis Hunter at the 70th pick, man. Like take him. Just give me that talent. Give me the situation, especially the situation right now where they're going to be extra reliant on the pass. Give me with the 70th pick every single day of the week. Like that ADP for a guy that talented, sign me up.
I like it. I mean, I it's funny, Zoo, because I was reading up on it today because I think it was today or yesterday that they announced
they asked the coach
or whatever, right, that he was on offense. They announced on the depth chart that he's wide receiver 2 and cornerback, like a backup cornerback, right? And honestly, look, he wasn't being drafted because he's the best available at either position, respectively.
Yeah.
He's drafted because he could do both, right? Kind of a Deion Sanders a little bit. Even not going to compare him to Devin Hester. He's more talented than that. But Hester had that. Well, where do we put him? Right outside of kicker, wide receiver, cornerback, whatever. But man, I'm gonna stick with receiver, Zoo, because I agree. There's always going to be a couple flyers. I'm not talking about a guy that's going to go undrafted in your leagues. This is a wide receiver room, man, that has been screaming for someone to step out into the limelight and grab hold of that wide receiver 1 position, and that's Matthew Golden in the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I just think he's going later than Travis Hunter. He's going usually 8th, 9th round, early 9th round potentially. Look at that receiver room, man. I mean, we've been talking about it for years. Christian Watson, you want to go through all that? That's fine. He's probably not going to play this year. If not,
Romeo Doubs,
Romeo Doubs wearing the Tyjae Spears, Devon A. Chain and Tua Tagovailoa, the concussion cap, man. He's had a lot of issues there. Dontavian Wicks has been banged up, and he's kind of on the smaller side, man. Not really a huge fan of him being a dominant player on that side of the ball. Like I mentioned earlier, I do like Tucker Kraft, and I think him and Josh Jacobs will be the focal points within the 10-yard line in the golden zone, as they like to call it. But if you're looking for a big play guy, I know he's a little undersized, but man, he's got the speed.
He's quick.
He's also got our best friend, Mr. Baltimore Ravens marching band, Steve Smith, man. He's his favorite, right? That's his favorite wide receiver in this draft class, and that's McMillan, Travis Hunter, all up there. He said, "You guys better watch out for this Matthew Golden kid." So, Jordan Love, I do have some concerns about him and just his gunslinging mentality, but that can also be
for fantasy.
But that's huge for fantasy, right? Not saying do not stack it. Do not stack Jordan Love for the love of God, all right? But I do think Matthew Golden could be a difference maker. And like I said, they've been searching ever since Devontae Adams left for a guy that can really take over this wide receiver room. Maybe this is the guy. And I think if you're getting him, let's say you do draft in my opinion, if you're fading tight end, which means you really only have probably by the 8th round drafted a high quality quarterback, man, he could be your 3rd, 4th wide receiver on your team if you want him to be. He could be one of those first bench spots that you have. In Zoo and Isley, you do have to start a double flex, and he may not even have to be in your starting lineup to start the season. So if you can rotate him be your first or second guy off the bench, I think that's an absolutely beautiful pick. Very reminiscent of Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas.
They spent the capital too. He's a first-round pick.
First-round receiver.
And the Packers don't do that.
They don't. So to me, it seems like there's something that LaFleur and his offensive staff saw and was like, oh, yeah, I think this is the guy for Jordan. And also, I think it's a real possibility that a lot of people were watching that Arizona State game where he was just making – I know he's 5'11", maybe 6 foot on a good day, and he's slender. But just the amount of acrobatic high point catches he was making is part of the reason why I think a lot of people fell in love with him, because usually guys who are that small, you look at them as like slot guys and they kind of can get stuff over the middle and maybe make moves and go to the house. But he was making acrobatic high point catches. And to me, that's part of what being a receiver is just you're able to make those type of catches. So I think people watching that game were just kind of like, this guy's got a little bit more than just a, jitterbug type deal. So Matthew Golden is somebody who, I think you could put him at your flex and be happy with him for the rest of the season, because he's just, I think, going to produce flex type numbers to start, because all rookies kind of start out slow, and then just probably maybe eventually get to a receiver too. Because, the Green Bay room is just, I don't know what to, like, I know it was by committee last couple of years, but a lot of that was because of injury. And I love Romeo Doubs out of all those guys, but he's not a true receiver one. Yeah. So it's like there's no dominant guy there. That's why it was by committee. Any receiver room that's by committee is because there's not a dominant guy in it. That's how it goes. And it's not because the quarterback's getting the ball to everybody. It's like, no, there's just not a dominant receiver there. Because if there was, he'd be throwing to him.
Exactly.
But I think for me, in terms of value, I like RJ Harvey a lot, because I think he's just going to be RB1 for them. I think a second round pick on a running back kind of tells me I think Sean Payton knows how much Bo Nix is going to need the run game going into next year or this year because of, everybody looks at the second year quarterbacks and like, all right, who's going to have the slump? And when we say slump, it's like I don't think they're going to be slumping to the point where they're not able to play football and be a competent quarterback, but there's going to be a little bit of regression because people get tape on you. And I think Sean Payton realizes that. And I know he's a guru, but he also sees like, hey, let's get a running back in here who we know can be dynamic, a bell cow to kind of take the pressure off of him. We already kind of got Evan Ingram, tight end, his quarterback's best friend. So I think RJ Harvey, depending on where he's going, which is not going to be as high as someone like Omari Hampton or Ashton Genty, you can get real value. And I'm not going to be brave enough to say he could be like a top 15-ish to 10 back, but I think he can get to the verge of 15 just off of volume alone because I still think that offense is going to be pretty good. Like, I don't think
and their O-line's really good. Their O-line's really good.
Yeah.
The only thing
and who's his competition?
I wanted to ask you this.
J.K. Dobbins, right?
J.K. Dobbins, yeah.
Let
me ask you this, though, Sean. Because I actually had this discussion with my buddy in Dynasty. He took R.J. Harvey with the 8th overall pick, and he picked him over Caleb Johnson. And I asked him, I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is fair because I do think Jaylen Warren will take some carries from him this year. I know we're not talking RBs right now, but in the sense of RJ Harvey, I said, I know Alvin Kamara had an absolutely monster performances. That's when he broke out was under Sean Payton, right?
Yeah.
But give me a Sean Payton offense that was never an RB committee.
Who was as good as
since Sproles and Bush, right? Back in the day, Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, Deuce McAllister way back in the day too. I mean, there's a reason Kamara's never had 1,000 receiving or rushing yards. Never, not once. Right? A lot of times
he's a receiving back though.
So is RJ Harvey, right? RJ Harvey's kind of known as
smaller. He's like a 5.
Smaller. And so my point is if he's a target version of Alvin Kamara, do you see him really taking over that running back room over J.K. Dobbins? I mean, it is.
I do because I'm not a J.K. Dobbins guy,
and I know
I've
you're
never
not.
been a J.K. Dobbins guy. That's probably why I'm higher on it.
But here's the issue. Do you know who Sean Payton's like favorite RB is right now? It's still Estime, dude. For some reason, he always loves Estime. So even if Dobbins gets hurt, Audric Estime is still going to get carries. So I think for RJ values like where he's going in drafts, I think it's fair. I think Dobbins, they did move him up accordingly in ADP, but it does concern me. Sean Payton offenses just concern me in the running game a little bit when it comes to volume. Because I know you just said, the volume that he could be getting. So that
I just think because he's second round, and I think
the investment.
It's just if he was like a 4th round back, then I probably wouldn't have brought him up because it's like they just saw him as like, oh, he fell to 4th round. Let's go ahead and get it because I think
that's fair.
But to me, you putting 2nd round picks on a back, like you're thinking this guy's going to just be a dude.
So
like to me, 1st and 2nd, same thing with Omari. Like,
would you take Travion or RJ?
RJ, just because I mean, I know Ramondre Stevenson, everybody's just throwing him to the trash, but I still think like he's good enough to where he can fend off.
And they paid him.
Well, I didn't know they paid Ramondre, but
last year, so he's still on for 3 more years.
Yeah, I think he's like now. I'm not gonna go reaching for Ramondre, but like I would take him if it's like towards the last later. It's like, well, he's still here. I'll take him because I don't think he like Travion's got a lot of, and the thing about him is he's got a lot of like his explosiveness. Like if you watch the national championship game when they were or I think it was Notre Dame. No, I think it was the game where they played Texas. Like
it was a semi,
like a screen pass. Like he's got some go-getters. So he definitely could be. He's like in that Dylan Sampson role, but better. Where if he gets going and he just gets like it's almost like how who was the guy? Mostert was like the back in Miami, but then when HA came and HA got the opportunity eventually, he showed like, oh no, HA's got a different gear, and now he's the top back. Like I think that could happen in New England, where if Travion gets enough carries and they trust him early, then he could overtake Ramondre.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the ability Ramondre is good enough to where basically I think Ramondre is better than J.K. Dobbins.
That's fair.
Is what I'm saying. Basically,
he's just a guy I can't figure out. And RJ Harvey, it's the RJ Harveys, the Caleb Johnsons, and the Travion Henderson. They're all
Caleb Johnson.
ESPN just bulks them together in the ADP listing, right? And you're like, no, I don't think where I'm landing. They're usually not falling to me, but I just know I was having a really hard time determining between those 3 rookies and who I thought you'd take him probably as like your third or fourth running back.
You know what the real answer to this is though? But because of his off the field, is Quinshawn. If Quinshawn was clear of off the field, I would, because people were probably more on Omarion Hampton for good reason. But man, I think just because of Cleveland's quarterback situation, Quinshawn is he's an AFC North back. He's explosive. He's fast. Like he's just built for that system. I think he would win you a fantasy season. I think. Because I saw some people talking about him and Najee. I was like, dude, did you guys watch college football? Him and Najee are not the same in terms of player or explosiveness. It's a different gear. I don't know where I just guess because they're both 6'1", 6'2". But to your point with Caleb Johnson, it is weird because Jaylen Warren has had really, really good moments. So I don't know what they're
giving him wide or RB1.
Jaylen Warren?
I mean, I know Aaron's there, but I don't know.
Zoo's gears are moving right now, I never thought about Jaylen Warren.
The thing with Caleb Johnson is like he's not. He's like, I think they say he ran like a 4.7. He's not explosive. So it's like he's a grinded out.
Yeah, he's a guy. He's a bruiser.
Maybe red zone touchdowns. Like
he's doing Najee Harris's role on the team.
The Jamal Williams of the world. Yep.
Yeah. Jamal Williams. Remember that little spurt he had?
Yeah, there you go. Another Sean Payton committee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's because my guy's feeling about short backs like JK. And I know RJ Harvey's a short back, but the thing is RJ is explosive. JK just
he is explosive.
And that's why I think, there's a possibility in the receiving aspect. So that's all depending on if Bo has a really good year too. So we'll see. Right. We'll see. But yeah, those are some of the rookies we've been talking about. Obviously the guys we're talking about are, have a potential to grow, I guess burst out, and then there's going to be some rookies that come out of nowhere that we haven't even mentioned. We're like, oh, we can get him off the waiver wire. So, like I said, guys, always make sure you're paying attention to that waiver wire, regardless of the size of your league, and make sure you pay attention to this podcast. Definitely on YouTube, Quantrill Knows, Spotify, Apple. Basically, give us a 5-star review if you can. There, you have the ability to leave comments also on the audio platform. So if you have a comment on there, you can't do it on the YouTube app. Just make sure you leave it. Give us a good review on that so we can get to the algorithms. Tyson Talks, Instagram, TikTok, and for me, Sue, and P. Bush, we are out.